To feel safe in your body. I'm Victor Goenko. My guest today is Coach A, life coach, content creator, operations manager, and a single parent to three kids. Abandoned by her mother twice. Two relationships that didn't survive, more than 10 years of rebuilding. Here's what she told me. She used to overthink, people please, and live in defense mode, always braced for the next problem. Now she pauses, breathes, regulates, and trusts herself. Not because life got easier, because her nervous system learned a different job. Today, we go after three things she named herself: why healing has to go beyond positive thinking, what it costs to be the strong one, and why the behaviors we call flaws are usually survival strategies that once kept us alive. One arc, like always. Let's go. Welcome, Coach A.
Thank you so much, Victor. Hello, everyone.
Thank you for being here. You wrote that you felt disconnected from yourself for so long. Take me back to before the healing started. What did a regular day feel like inside that disconnection?
Well, physically, um, I cannot describe myself because if you take a look at me 10 years ago, probably 12 years ago, this is not how I look like. It's so different when you feel disconnected inside and you don't see any light, you know, your physical appearance is kind of different. There's no glow. You can't even smile. You can't even recognize joy. You can't even connect to people. You can't connect to yourself. And during that moment, I didn't know there was what we call we're broken. I don't have that kind of awareness and education before. 12 years ago, um, probably 15 years ago, I didn't know. I would like to start from the relationship I had. So I got married around 20 years old. I just got off from school and I didn't even know what was I entering into. I didn't know what I gotten myself into. I was pregnant. I, I, I don't I don't think that I was really prepared for getting married because I really don't. I am feeling alone during that time. I don't have a parent. I don't have my mom, my dad. I don't have a family. Basically, I was all alone. I came from an all girls school that's actually inside the convent. So I don't know what the world looked like during that time. I was like 19, 20 years old. And so probably during that time, during my healing journey, I realized that I didn't actually marry because I love the person. I married because I wanted a family of my own because I don't have that. And during that time, I didn't know I was broken. I didn't know there's something I need to heal. I didn't know myself. I don't know myself. I even question myself, why am I existing? Because I don't have parents at that time. Although my dad raised me up until I was 12 years old, and then after that I went on my own, sent myself to school. I didn't go home for like how many years until I got married accidentally. And then my dad died. I wasn't able to see him when he died because I just gave birth through cesarean section with my youngest daughter. So during that time, it's more of confusion. It's more of like a need for someone to save me. It's more of like me looking for someone to accept me, to love me, to take care of me. I need someone to be a family. I want someone, or I want to belong to a family. So when I got pregnant, I wasn't ready because I was very young. I have a lot of dreams, but then again, I felt so disconnected. I don't know myself. It was hard because you don't know yourself and you're just carrying on every single day of your life. So when I got married, I have kids, I felt so disconnected, and sometimes the emotions that I'm feeling, I don't understand. Okay. And sometimes I tend to be angry because I need this, I need that, but then there's no satisfaction in that. And then until I have two kids, and then I realized that I wasn't, happy with the relationship. Not because I was looking for something. materially, but it's because I'm looking for something that would make me feel whole. And it's not, I'm not getting that in that relationship, in that married life. At the same time, it wasn't a good experience for me. Getting married to a person I hardly know. Because the only reason we got married is because I got pregnant. I got pregnant, which is not, something that I planned or consent. I didn't even give my consent. So we just have to go through that. And I realized that I thought I can love someone because we have kids. But then again, it didn't work. The reason behind that is because I don't know myself. I don't even love myself. I don't know what self-love is. There was no one, guiding me, telling me about self-love. And then after that, as you have questions, unfortunately, I chose the wrong guy because that person didn't have any emotional intelligence to help me understand what I was going through. We're both not educated with this self love thing, this healing thing. We don't have that before. We don't have that kind of conversation anywhere in the community, inside the church, inside the family. There's none of that conversations happening. So, so when I decided to leave the relationship, it was really hard. It was a struggle. It's a it's a it's a an experience I would not want my children to experience. So after 7 years, I met someone. So I thought I was ready. Because my friend told me, "Oh, you deserve a second chance. So maybe, try you go on a date, something like that, and all that." And then here I am again because I wasn't healed. The moment this person talked to me, showed me kindness, being a gentleman, and all that without me really asking myself if this is something I really want or if I really know this person and all that. So I entered in that kind of relationship again with the same mistake because I wanted to feel love. I wanted someone to make me happy without realizing that no one can ever make me happy but me. I cannot love someone without me loving myself. And I cannot love myself without me knowing really who I am. So that's where the disconnect is. And so that relationship didn't work for the second time. And I never tried again. I never tried again because I was so scared to be hurt. And when I realized that, so that was the start of the discovery. I moved here in Cebu. I was actually in another province here in the Philippines. I moved in Cebu because my manager told me, if you want to change your life, if you want to start again, you have to start in another place, not here. Because you've been broken twice in this place and you cannot start here. So to help you out, I'm gonna send you to another site and then you start over. So they arrange everything. So I was so lucky to have a support in the workplace. So I was sent here in Cebu and then I started my life here. And that's where I discovered why I wasn't happy. That's where I discovered why I felt so empty. I cannot um mingle with people. Yeah, I smile, I laugh, but it's just that I'm just smiling physically, but not smiling, feeling that smile and joy in your heart because you're disconnected. And sometimes people will, not talk to me because I look so strict. My face is unapproachable. I'm so strict in the office, and sometimes people would not talk to me because they said, "Oh, you're so scary." And then, reading books, started to actually read more stories about healing. There's YouTube. So I discovered a lot of coaches. Actually, I've been following their footprints. So I listen to Mel Robbins. That's my daily thing. Her podcast is always every morning in my schedule. Tony Robbins, Jay Shetty, uh, recently is Matthew Jose, the relationship coach. So I listened to their podcast and I'm learning so much. I even attended 3 hour seminar, which is free from Tony Robbins. Once he announced that there's a summit, a free summit, online, I would really attend that no matter what because I'm learning a lot from that. So that's where I started my healing journey. I first realized and acknowledged that this isn't me. I'm broken. I'm hurt. I'm wounded. I'm a soldier, but I'm wounded. And I can't go on fighting, because I don't even know where the wound came from. So when I um, enrolled to coaching certification, that's when I realized that I can't finish the coaching certification. Well, the reason behind that is because when I'm in the office, is they look at me as a very strict manager. Um, Behind the scene during the coaching, because I'm a performance coach, they would we will not be talking about numbers. We're gonna be talking about them, how they're actually seeing themselves inside the workplace. I talk to them as if I actually profile them. And so that kind of skill that I had, I never knew. They would comment about that you're not like a manager alone, but you're like a life coach. And that's the first time I heard the name life, or the word life coach. And I researched on that. And then I became a VA while actually working in the same company. And then my client is a coach in UK. And then the thing that her actually teaching is more about healing, feminine healing. And so I got so curious because I wanted that kind of, profession or job, something that I would love to do. But then again, during that time, I don't know my passion yet. I haven't discovered who I was. And
Nothing happens for no reason, everything,
exactly.
every connection, every conversation, every meet, every situation is brought to you for a reason. That's why when we start our conversation, the first question I asked you is, well, why are you right now in these situations where
Yes.
your pet deserves so much attention? Next day, your son deserves so much attention, and they're all medical, but there's something within us that needs to be evolved, and those situations are brought to us in order for us to learn more about ourselves primarily. We can be taking care of our close ones, but we need to also learn how to take care of ourselves.
And then she actually probably noticed me when I was editing her content, because that's part of my job. And then one time she scheduled a coaching session with me and asked me, what's your passion? I actually don't have any passion yet, but I'm interested in what you do. It's something that my heart is calling me out. And then she said that, okay, then start sharing your story, because probably your story might be a survival kit for someone else. So I didn't realize that. Oh, that's amazing. I have a very dark story because I wanted to end my life. There was a point where I wanted to end my life, and something just woke me up, and I realized that, hey, I don't deserve this. This is not the reason why I was born. I'm loved. I know that I'm a daughter of God, and that He's not punishing me. Because during that time when my life is, a mess, I keep telling myself that probably this is a punishment from God because I'm a bad person. That's how I see myself. But then again, I realized that's not how God loves us. He doesn't punish us just like that. It's just um the consequences of our decision, of our actions, and we cannot we cannot pick up what kind of consequence we will have with those decisions, bad or wrong, right? We can choose to make some decisions or decisions in our lives. I needed someone to mentor me because I don't have that here. So if you want, my pay, the you know my salary can be cut off in half, 50-50. 50% will go to your time or my pay for your coaching, and I just need the mentorship. And she agreed. She actually didn't get the money. She agreed to coach me, provided me some outline, asked me to, okay, make your own YouTube channel. That's why I have a first YouTube channel without really a niche, or I just show up, and then it continues. And then later on, I started sharing my story and created the page. But then again, I realized I'm not that expert. So there again, the self doubt. I'm not an expert. I'm not that good enough for people to accept me or probably react to my post, because I feel like my value will be depending on how many people will like. the post. And so I learned so much of that in the next coming years, that that's not my value. I create my value, not the people around me. So when I learned self love, it opened a lot of opportunities, and I get to know myself better. But on my seventh year of my healing journey at work, there was this workshop that leaders will be sent to Manila. So I'm in Cebu, and then they will be sending leaders to Manila for a workshop. So remember, it's a corporate world. I'm in a corporate world, and the workshop was finding your passion. Would you believe that? I did have passion.
So that was probably the turning point for you, right? That
Yes,
was you didn't ask for it again, and there you were on a workshop that helped you move on to your next step in life.
correct. So I was learning during that time, and then I didn't know my passion. There's there's this feeling inside my heart where I wanted I wanted I wanted to share something, but I don't know how to. And I wanted to express myself, and I don't know how to. And I don't have any direction. It's just that there's something in me. There's something in me that I can't describe, that's wanting me to explore more. So during the workshop, um, the theme is finding your passion, and the facilitator gave us that guideline on how to find your passion. And so it was rejected when I submitted, because the requirement would be write your passion statement in a sentence. The workshop ended, and my passion statement wasn't accepted because that's not my passion is. After
So not being accepted for 7 years. After 7 years, you still didn't find it, right?
after 7 years, I didn't find it. Okay. Now during the workshop, the mentor told me, get back to me as soon as you know your passion and you're able to write your passion. But actually, there's still something happening inside me. After 6 months, we went back to the same workshop because there's a follow up workshop. By that time, I knew my passion is I'm ready. So when I submitted it, I was crying. She told me to read it, and I was crying because I can't say it. And it just like opening everything about my life, why those things happen to me, why the hurt, why the suffering, the decisions, why am I feeling this way, why I am very sensitive, inquisitive person, why I'm courageous, I'm, resilient, I'm strong, I know who I am. At that moment, I realized, oh my gosh, the reason why I went through all those things is because I wanted someone, I wanted one person to continue living and not feel alone in their suffering. And it resonated with me. And so that was my driving force. So when I went to Cebu, I started posting. I started training. I started getting certification. I started doing pro bono in one of the um, academy that I enrolled. And then up to this very moment, I'm doing that. And every year, I'm learning so much of myself. And what changed in me is that I feel calmer. I feel regulated with the emotions. I don't panic right away when I have problems or issues, just like what happened earlier. I don't panic because I'm confident that I, with my son, we can actually, go through that together. We're not alone. I'm not alone. He's not alone. Unlike before. So even though I'm a single parent, I have my eldest son who's already married, who owns a VA agency, who actually owns a restaurant. He has his own family with three kids, just a newborn a few months ago. And then he's traveling around the world. And I'm so happy with my son because even though he was born at a time where I wasn't even a good mom because I cannot provide, I cannot protect them from his dad. I was able to raise my son all alone and send him to school and finish his school. And also my second son, actually with me, the one I brought in the hospital. He's 25 years old. He's a freelancer, a VA as well, and he's earning on his own. you know? So I also have a daughter who's 14 years old and is in high school. So if you ask me what my life right now is, I would say in one word, it's peaceful.
What was the first boundary that you ever set that actually held for you? Like, what did it cost you, and what did it gain you? Because in order for you to create the life that you have now, you had to set, first of all, I guess, a new identity for yourself. But more than that, you had to set boundaries by not pleasing others, by not trying to fit in. What was that? What was that extreme that you reached, and what was it that you had to integrate into your life in order to really start loving yourself and trusting yourself?
I learned that if we want to have a quality kind of life, we also need to consider the quality of relationships we keep. So my first boundary is to remove the people who's actually not helping me grow in the quest of growth that I was actually doing in my life. I came from a different province. I moved in Cebu. I don't have families here. I don't have relatives. And I think that was the first thing that I maintained. I have to make sure that I choose carefully the people, the friends that I go out with or I mingle with. That's the first boundary. Choose people who's actually would be able to serve and help you, um, achieve your purpose. Not someone who just wanted to talk about other things aside from growth. That's one thing. Second is that I learned to say no, even at work, even with my boss. I have to say yes to myself, not the other way around. Because if I do say yes to them and I feel like it's a no for me, then I'm the one suffering. So I make sure that I'm honest to myself, genuine to myself, and then be honest to people. So when I mean no, that means to say that I say yes to myself and I don't have to explain that. If I need to, then I say a few words.
How do you know in your body that you're safe right now?
I'm calm because my nervous system will know, not give me signal that, oh, you're not safe. So you have to panic. So I'm calm and I'm regulated and I don't have, anxiety and I don't overthink. So I just feel calmer whenever I make decisions that I know that it's what I need. My heart is telling me that it's what I need.
You run operations at BPO, you coach, you create content, and
Mhm.
you're raising three kids on your own. That's already a loud life, right?
Yes.
In comparison to where you were before. What does
Yes.
regulation look like on a day when all four pull at once?
So I have rest days, Saturday, Sunday. And then my Monday morning in the Philippines, because I work in the evening, is another day for me to rest. So what I do is that I schedule everything. Everything is in my personal calendar and in my work calendar. So I have to make sure everything is in there and I do those little things on Friday so I don't have to do it on Monday. This one works for me because everything is in my calendar. I see everything the entire week schedule. So I know what to do. I know the deadlines. I know the meetings. I know what are the analysis I need to submit and all that. So that's what I do at work. In my personal life,
Giving a
so
drop of your personal life and spreading it, it makes you not just work for the business, but also be yourself, right? Be
yes,
transparent. And
that's
people love when they can resonate with transparency and your personal experiences.
so
You
that's how I
wrote
manage.
you wrote that you're falling in love with life every single day.
Mhm.
Not rich materially, but your words, you feel peaceful. What does your nervous system know now that money? was never going to teach it.
Well, actually, sometimes I run out of money because of some bills, tuition fees, house rent and all that. But it's not like how I was feeling before. I get so worried, I panic. My relationship with my kids will be impacted because I get irritated. But right now, no, I don't feel that. My nervous system is calm. I think my nervous system is telling me, okay, you got this. So I feel calmer because I know I have something that I can do to make sure that those problems are actually resolved. I no longer focus on the problem actually. I focus on the solution. If I have a problem, let's say I need this, what will I do? What resources do I have right now? Focus on that. And then, work on it. You face your problems, not escape them by, overthinking and then hiding. So I learned to face my problems because I know that I'm bigger than my problems. My faith is bigger than my problems.
Are there any tools that you use in order to bring you back into the moment? Like, give me the version that someone can try at work tomorrow.
Well, actually, I learned this from Jay Shetty. Uh, he said the 5 4 3 2 1 technique. So let's say, for example, I'm panicking right now and I'm feeling, my heart is palpitating and I feel like I'm not anymore getting my focus back. So I pause. I pause and then close my eyes and then breathe in and breathe. And then I tell myself, okay, open your eyes and then give me 5 things that you can see. I see curtains, I see pink lamps, and then 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can taste, 1 thing that you can smell. And it's because it's bringing me back to where I am, to where I'm standing, where I'm sitting, inside the room where I am. And so I continuously do the breathing exercise because I think that will also calm your heart. If my heart is palpitating, I just have to breathe in, breathe out, deeper breathe, and then you breathe out outside through your nose. So that's what I do regularly. If I feel like I need to calm myself, especially if I have presentations and all that, I just have to talk to myself in a positive way. Like, hey, okay, you got this, you prepared for this. And if are some things that you think they will be asking you during that meeting, what do you think would that be? And so I go back to studying again my presentation and then I feel confident when I face them. I never had any um confrontations and negative discussions during presentation or meetings because I'm prepared in that moment. If I don't know the answer, then I have to say like, okay, I'm sorry, I don't have that data right in front of me, but I'm sure I'm gonna get back to you and say that if that's okay. But I just have to be honest, we're humans. We're not perfect. People in the corporate world would oftentimes expect you to be the expert. But then again, we're human beings. We, commit mistakes. We sometimes miss some data and can't remember that all the time. So you just have to be honest. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to get that, but I'll make sure that you get that after this. So I have that kind of
Yeah,
conversation.
what is one trick or tip that you can teach the audience? Uh, so you said breath work, being aware of your breath, going into the present. Um, anything else that really helps you calm in that moment of stress, in that moment of panic? Uh, is
Mm.
there any other tools that you found really useful in these 10 years that you didn't know existed and now are a big part of your life?
Well, aside from breathing exercises when you're tense, when you're anxious, but there's one thing that I also do for myself. This is something that works for me. I talk to myself. I have my own self affirmation. If I feel like I'm not confident in facing the world, I have to ask myself why. Because most often that's because of fear of judgment. People will not like how you talk. People will judge you because of that. Especially when I'm doing podcasts with someone else, I have to remind myself, hey, you're enough. You're good enough. You first save yourself before you can actually try to help people. You love yourself before you can actually give that kind of love you give to yourself to other people, because you deserve that kind of love you give to yourself. And so most often you cannot get that from others. It's only you can give that to yourself. You be authentic, you be genuine to yourself without apologizing to people, because that's how people will see you, will accept you, and you will know those people who is ready to accept you for who you are. Yeah. So self
I love that.
affirmation, yeah. Self affirmation is important to me. I really talk to myself a lot of times. There was this one practice coming from Mel Robbins. Even though I wasn't prepared, I don't have anything put on my face. I can't do this 10 years ago, because I will be, you know, embarrassed to face people without a lipstick, because I feel like I'm so ugly, you know. But Mel Robbins teach me one thing. During the podcast, I heard her say that you gotta face yourself in the mirror every morning. When you wake up and you're probably doing your lipstick going to work, face yourself in the mirror. That experience really humbled me. She said, face yourself in the mirror and then look at yourself. Look at your face, your fine lines, your eye bags, your lips, your teeth, your eyes, your eyebrows. Not to judge, but to appreciate. And then you
Or
correct. Our relationship with ourselves is the only relationship that will stay until the end. And I value that. I feel like I was all alone in my entire life. You know what I did in 2023? And when I started in this new company, I told myself that this is the right time to go back to the place of my childhood and bring my little girl with me, my inner child with me, and tell her, hey, we're here again and we survived. Goosebumps. I will never forget that journey. That was the most important journey I did in my entire life, to go back to the place where it broke me. And then I was able to go there back then, 2024, with my sisters. And I told myself, hey, I'm back. And I'm no longer that little girl who's helpless. I'm this new woman because of this little girl. And I think, that made me realize that I'm whole, because I was able to reconnect with my inner child, heal my inner child and tell her that you don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to keep surviving, because I'm here and we're gonna thrive together. I told her that starting today, I will spend at least 30 minutes of my day every single day to make you happy. So every day, I ask myself, what will make me happy today? Most of the time, it's just coffee, it's just hot chocolate drink, a sandwich, a salad, no, or going to a coffee shop, just relaxing. Because here in Cebu, there's a lot of coffee shop in the mountain, and you will see everything, especially in the evening. So I go there with my camera and all that, because of course I'm vlogging. So I do that every single day. You have to make sure you have 30 minutes at least time for yourself, just you, for you, by you, and that helped me really, you know, be grounded.
yeah, bringing your attention inward, bringing your attention towards yourself, loving yourself, trusting yourself, and most importantly, not being toxic to
Mm. For
yourself.
yourself, yes, that's correct.
Where can people find you? How can they find more about your work? How can they get in touch with you? I know you said you have a YouTube channel, The Inside Job with Coach A,
Mm.
and you also shared your Facebook, A V Yegas Alfonso.
Mm.
So maybe you can share your Instagram handle, and I will also link all of those below in the show notes.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm not very active in Instagram. I just, link my Facebook to Instagram. So whenever I post in Facebook, it goes to my Instagram. So it's Arlene Alfonso in Instagram, A Villegas Alfonso in Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you.
You.
And for anybody listening, if your mind is loud and your body never quite settles, that's the work I do in BreathX Collective on NAS.
Mm.
And this was Feel Safe in Your Body. I am Victor Goenka, and thanks for listening and thanks for being here.